Hi, I'm Chuck Dorsett for Weaver Leathercraft Supply. Let's talk about cutting our own tassels, because this is a great trick. You'll have tassels that match your projects perfectly. But at the same time, when you learn to cut tassels, they go everywhere. Boots, bags, duffels, purses, pouches. You can put these in a number of places. So, let's get started. Now, the only thing we need to know is we need a 2 to 3 ounce, maybe a 3 to 4 ounce leather. I don't want to go much beyond that. But at the same time, I want a leather that's supple, that's going to drape well and hang nicely. So, a lot of possibilities out there. Well, let's go to step 1, cutting the tassel. You can cut the tassels a number of different ways. A craft knife is great. Rotary is good. I tend to like a utility knife simply because I can get a very deep cut. Therefore, I'm going to have almost no rippling. Second big trick, straight edge with your non-slip tape. Now, I can cut my spine. They're mine. I can cut this any width I want. Say I'm going to drop in a 1/4 inch bead, put in 1/8 of an inch on each side, so I can cut my spine at a 1/2 inch and it'll be a perfect fit. But for the tutorial, let's keep it simple. I'm going to keep a 1 inch spine on the top of my tassel. This arm is 1 inch, makes the whole thing very easy. I simply butt to the top. Now I'm going to cut 3/16. Again, they're your tassels. You can cut 8, 3/16, 1/4. This seems to be a good medium size. Now, make my first cut clean and easy. Simply scoot to the left while keeping the top of my straight edge across the top of my leather. Double check that I'm parallel. Nice. And one last cut. Very nice. Now let's trim that off. Just what I'm looking for. That is so clean, it looks like it was die cut. Took virtually no time. Now, I do though at the bottom of my tassel, my knife tends to kick a little bit left. But that is easily solved. Simply trim. And that is so clean, it looks like it's die cut. That's what I'm looking for. Clean cut. Now, one of my points in leather, one of my end results is that I want my work clean. But I want to be able to do the tedious stuff quick. That's what we're doing here. Okay, step 2, glue. Now, we're going to use a contact cement. Great glue for leather. This is an S18, so one of ours. It's a contact cement, so I'm going to need glue on both sides. Well, this is going to be a little confusing the way we're going to glue this, but once we knock it together, it'll make perfect sense. All right, so step 2, let's glue our tassel. So gluing, need to be a little careful. Now I've got my top grain up, so what I'm going to do is flip this over. So I've got my skive or suede side up. Now, like I said, this is going to be a little confusing, but you'll see exactly where we're going with this, and it'll make perfect sense. All right, so to start with, I'm going to take my first strand. I'm going to put glue up at the top, my 1 inch there. Now I've got a 1 inch spine, so I'm going to add 1 inch more glue. I'm going to skip an area because that's going to be the inside of my loop, and then I'm going to add 1 more inch of glue. All right, so the balance of the inside, I'm going to coat completely right down to the bottom of the spine. Very good. Now let's just take a piece of wax paper or some tracing film. Now on this side, this is my first strand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add glue to exactly halfway and no further. Very nice. Okay, so let's give that a minute or 2 to dry. So our glue is dried, just a couple of minutes. Now I'm going to take my first strand. I'm going to loop him up. I'm going to leave some loop outside and I'm going to drop him back down. Now I could add some glue on these sides, but that tends to get a little confusing and it's not terribly necessary because now I'm going to start to roll this. But I've got to be a little careful to keep the glue from getting on my fingers and then out on my top grain. Just right. Exactly what I'm looking for. Nice loop, very clean, very straight. which is exactly what I'm looking for, clean and straight. Now, let's add another closure to this. Glue's gonna hold it nicely, but I want to add some security to that so this will last for years. Now, I can go with a bead, but it's tough to find an inside diameter that's going to fit a tassel. Strangely enough, and though on the creative side, and this is funny, a plumber's ferrule makes a gorgeous closure. But we're going to go with a wax thread because this is a very tight, very clean closure. It's got a great knot, show you exactly how that works. So let's tie this off with some wax thread. We are going to use what's called a John Ketch knot, or unfortunately and more commonly known as a hangman's noose, but it's a great, very secure knot, very clean. Easy enough. All I'm going to do is make a loop with my wax thread, lay that down on the area I'm going to cover, hold that with my thumb. Now my longer piece, I'm going to cross over my shorter piece, and I'm going to wind all the way towards the top. So, winding this nice and even, very clean. Now, I can manipulate this. If I get a little daylight in here, I can certainly manipulate my thread to close that off. Let's do one. Let's do two more loops. There we go. Very nice. Now, all I have to do, this loop that we made earlier, I'm going to take this piece, run through that loop. I'm going to draw this end down, tighten this a little bit more. Now I can draw that down underneath. That completely hides the knot. Now, I don't want to cut anything. I don't want to cut my leather or my wax thread. So I'm going to lay my blade right down on my wax thread, and I'm going to pull it across the blade. Therefore, I don't cut anything important. So tassels, cut, glue, secure. It's that simple, and they look great. Now we did just a simple veg tan tassel here, but I hope that's a good jumping off point for you to go in 100 different directions. I hope your tassels are gorgeous. Good luck with your projects.